Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we're going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Johnny fought his students at the end of Cobra Kai Season 2? So in this timeline, the events of Cobra Kai Season 2 would still happen. The school fight would still happen in this timeline. Miguel and Robbie would still be fighting on top of the balcony, and much like in the original timeline, Miguel would still pin Robbie on the ground, but he would remember what Johnny told him about showing mercy, so Miguel would still show mercy to Robbie, but Robbie would still get angry, and he would still attack Miguel, so Robbie would still kick Miguel off the balcony, so Miguel would still be paralyzed. Robbie would realize what he had done, and he would still run away, and the events of Season 2 would continue. Johnny would still find out what happened, and he would still be at the hospital. Carmen would still tell Johnny that she never wants to see him again, and much like in the original timeline, Daniel would still shut down Miyagi-Do. Johnny would be heartbroken, and he would decide to go back to the Cobra Kai dojo, but he would be surprised to see that the dojo was unlocked. So Johnny would go in to investigate, and he would see Kreese training his students. Johnny would get mad, and he would want to confront Kreese, but his students would get between them. Hawk would be mad, and he would blame Johnny for everything that happened to Miguel. Kreese would still reveal that he talked to the landlord, and that this was now his dojo. And in this timeline, Johnny would get mad, and he wouldn't back down, and he would want to fight Kreese. Hawk would see this, he would want to defend Kreese, so he would attack Johnny. Johnny would see Hawk coming towards him, and he would have no choice but to defend himself, so Johnny would take Hawk down. The other students would see this, and they would surround Johnny, and they would attack him, so Johnny would start taking down some of his students, and he would be fighting back. Kreese would see Johnny fighting his students, and he would be amused. Tori would fight Johnny, she would be fighting with anger, and she would blame Johnny for everything, but Johnny would still take her down. Johnny would defeat his students, and he would want to fight Kreese, so Kreese and Johnny would start fighting, and their fight would continue. Hawk would get back up, and he would want to continue fighting Johnny, so Hawk would want to help Kreese, but this is when the police would show up, and they would arrest Johnny for assaulting minors, aggravated assault, and breaking and entering, and the events of Season 3 would continue. Sid wouldn't bail out Johnny in this timeline, and he would stay in prison. Daniel would still be looking for Robbie, and in this timeline, he would look for him alone, and those events would carry on. Eventually, Daniel would find Robbie, and he would turn him in. So Robbie would still go to juvie in this timeline. After the fight, some of the Cobra Kai students would decide to quit, and the rivalry between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do would continue. Miguel would eventually wake up from his coma, and he would ask about Johnny, but in this timeline, Johnny wouldn't be there to visit him. The events of Season 3 would continue. Without Johnny's help, they wouldn't raise enough money for Miguel's surgery, so Miguel would stay paralyzed in this timeline. Robbie would still fight Sean in this timeline, and those events would stay the same. Season 3 would carry on. Eagle Fang would never be formed in this timeline. The All Valley tournament would still be cancelled, and without Miguel, it would never be reinstated. Eventually, Danny would reopen up Miyagi-Do in this timeline, and by the time Robbie gets out of juvie, Robbie would go back to Miyagi-Do, and Danny would be happy to see him. The house fight wouldn't happen in this timeline, and Season 3 would be pretty uneventful, and that is where I'm gonna end this What If. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Johnny fought his students at the end of Cobra Kai Season 2? Let me know in the comments below. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you guys next time.